Welcome, welcome. If you didn't know, you've just joined the class Becoming a Performance Poet 101, okay? So if this is the wrong class, it's too bad, you gotta stay anyway, okay? So I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who's shared already tonight. If we can just give them a quick round of applause. They did very well. Okay. So just to move on with our lessons here tonight, let's get started. Okay. So the first thing that you need to become a performance poet is very, very important. What you need are materials. Okay? Oh, I forgot an S. Materials. Now, just like any class, you need to have your materials. Did everyone bring their materials? Yeah, good, I'm glad. So, basically, if we can talk quickly about the materials that a performance poet needs. Now, it's very important to have pen and paper. Okay, because poems always have to start with pen and paper. Now, I will be honest with you because you have paid for this class. Now, I personally do not use pen and paper to write my poetry. I use Microsoft Word 2007. Okay, so my laptop is falling apart. It has to be propped up on my desk. My drunk flatmate sat on it, so it's got this giant mark on the screen. Looks terrible, but it works. My laptop is so old, it's an octogenarian in computer years, but it has traveled a long distance and it suits me just fine. So my point is, you use what you got to use to write your poetry, but if anybody asks you, tell them you use pen and paper with a feather-tipped pen, because we are poets and we are romantic. So, I just want to share a poem with you all. Now, you're going to hear some old poems tonight, because when you're thinking about becoming a performance poet, you think about your beginnings. Okay, so you guys are going to hear some poems from 2012. Now, when I first arrived to Poetry in Motion, I was told that there was a documentary film festival coming into town. And so they said, well, would you like to do some poems to open up these documentaries? And I said, sure, I'd love to. And so Miss Allie Jacks actually told me, she said, well, go talk to a man, his name is Travis. So I did that and I wrote this poem. Okay. It's called From Poems to Poets. Control N. I skipped past 179 pages to the end of this Word document titled appropriately Poems. Control N. I patrol the whim of this poem, a hymn, and preparing an intro to a documentary screening titled appropriately We Are Poets. Control and I reflect on the passage of lines captured on a screen, a dream seated, buried to the depths of, I never saw this coming. I opened the blank page in 2009 and now I find this dream unfurling, a breath of beast and wings and hurling, rhymes curling with spirit and spittle. Mine has been an organic education. Control home. Poems begin with no end and a blurred line in sight. Teary-eyed, fueled by a festering fury funneled through a heart gently broken. Poems premiered promise of prolific poetic progression is the pathetic proclamation I am writing despite you. Control N. Fuck you, Johnny! I thought at the time, but now I think, hey, thanks, Johnny, for gently breaking my heart. Because you see, this poetry journey had to start somewhere. And when I control home, I reverse to a growing list of poets I like. Masters as simple crafters, life-observed orators, poets I like. Their passion coalesced in lines, in my mind's ear they chime, a list in type to remind me for the hype I felt for them. My first live performance poet, my first YouTube slam man, the touring artist, their presentations immaculate. But they all had to get started with a single blank page. Page one, page printed, page creased and folded, ink blurred from the sweat of nerves, moist palm on open mic. A poem, pocketed, but locked in, biting within the creases of our hearts and the dimples of our brain. The train of thought from fingers to keys to page to memory, from mouth to ears to thought and back again, control end. My friends control home. I remember you. Glynis Redmond, black skin in a white town, A.B. Tech, she lectured on the heritage poem. I took home inspiration, a sweet on my tongue but sustaining to my belly. Graham Hackett, the feature at my first slam. You stacked third in an even more impressive heat at the Leaf Festival on Black Mountain, North Carolina. I sweated desire, salt tower rising in the back of my throat for a place in that kind of competition. Miles Merrill, Chicago-born but a Sydney-sider, a man with a plan for Australia's slam poetry future. Words travel but rest a while on that monthly word-in-hand stage. Satisfying swallows of beer and low-lit appreciation for poetic application. Operana Taylor, my introduction to poetry in motion and Maori notions and folklore. Ali Jacks stacks a deck of talent. Words lend themselves walking down a Kiwi street named Cuba. We are creating a fountain of wood-fired memories. I salivate for opportunities like these. My education is an elongation, a throng of poems and poets. Lewis Scott, Omar Musa, Holly McNish, the wish to be amongst them. Luca Lesson, Saul Williams, Taylor Ma Lee, this documentary an appropriate simile for my desire to travel, to hear and to be heard, brave new voices. Home is now, and my controlled choice is to speak and see no end to this journey. From tears and NC to teens and leads, page 1 to 183, continuously, we are poets.